Mr. Kasimu Garba Kofi is the MD, CEO, APT Securities and Funds Limited. Thank you for joining me, Mr. Kofi.
You're welcome.
Now, I'm going to start from, let's start from the inflation figure for the month of September. Despite the decline in the figure or in the rate, yet the prices of food remain steady. So how do you address this?
Well, I want you to understand inflation figure is a conglomerate of other inflation get together. So in the actual sense, the food inflation still rise in the month of September compare what was the price as in the month of August. The core inflation rise in the month of September compare what was it previous month. But the other inflation sectors are the one that decline, and that is the total aggregate, the total decline in the inflation. Not because there is no inflation or there is no rising in the prices. There is, but not cut across all the sectors.
So in essence, what you're saying is that it's just a core headline inflation, and that doesn't have a significant impact on the prices of food or what happens in the economy. Is that what you're saying?
No, what we are saying, they may have, to you as a person, it all depends. For instance, for a rural farmer who already harvests his food, the cost of inflation in the food is not an issue to him. Maybe what will cost him the transport or the cost of diesel that he has to empower his generator maybe to get his farm or tractors. So every other person, what depends to you is what costs you more. Maybe to you as an urban settler, the inflation, the rate of your house that you are paying is what matters to your economy. And therefore, if they review the rental fee, it all disturbs you. And to you, that is the most significant. It may be the food, because you are living in the urban area, you don't even have the food beyond 1 month. So therefore, any change in the price of the food, it also reflected into you. So what affect individual may not be necessarily be the general inflation figure. And that is why when it declines, people begin to raise alarm. What sort of this statistic is? They need to dissect the statistics to see what are those components that make up the inflation.
Right. But let's look at, according to the Bureau of Statistics, Nigeria Bureau of Statistics, they said Kogi, where, of course, you have a lot of farmers there, and you have a lot of farmers in Gobe, and Oyo, of course, these are states that were supposed to have less or lower food inflation, but yet you're having some of these states topping the food inflation. I mean, how do we explain this? Even where you're supposed to have enough food because farmers are there.
You see, farmers are there, or maybe what you have is not what you eat. Then, for instance, they may have more of yams. And maybe the bulk of the people prepare to eat guinea corn or millet corn, which they don't produce. So therefore, if what you have is not what you consume, you are likely going to have it. For instance, you are talking of Gombe. If you are talking of maize cultivation, it's more of Kaduna State and Kazana State. And probably the people of Gombe, they will be more of guinea corn and millet and groundnut. But rather, even if you have plenty of groundnut, it's not what you eat as a food. So it will not subsidize the cost, because what you are more into cash crop rather than food crops.
Right.
I will be surprised if the increase of the price of food of Gusau, Zamfara State, and Kazina State rise will attack that one to insecurity. Not because they did not cultivate it, but it is not sure. Take Kogi. Kogi is more confluence. So you will see that every other pass through them.
If you look at
whether from the east, whether from the west, whether from the north. And therefore, probably what they cultivate is not what they put. Or, for instance, they have more of cassava. Gari, and this is not the time for Gari. And therefore, it will cost them more because it's not yet the harvesting period.
Although according to the figure from the MBS, of course, they highlight some of the product like yam, you have fats, you have bread, you have milk, and all of that. Cereals, the prices of cereals, has also gone up as well. I mean, so, but the implication, let's look at the buying power of ordinary Nigeria now in some of these major foods, major staple foods, for instance, beans, yam, cassava, and all of that. In terms of buying power, I mean, not everybody can afford this. How do we address the fact that a lot of people cannot buy these food, these simple, basic food items to consume? How do we address that?
You see, we address it by what the priority people pay into it.
Right.
Let me tell you, I came from Kazana State, and I know a lot of people pay attention to cash crop.
Right.
So if you pay attention to that one, the cost of food, it doesn't cost you much because you cultivate this, maybe soya bean, you sell it, you earn a lot of money, and you go and buy the food. No matter what the cost of the food, you will see that it doesn't cost you because what you have cultivated, the price has doubled. And what you are buying, the price does not go to that level. So when you have those kind of scenario, it may not cost you that much. But assuming you are a civil servant who rely on the salary, and even if you look at some of the states have not yet gone far with the issue of this implementation, the new salary structure. So you know that person will be seriously affected compared to the other person. So it all depends what is your source of your income. If your source is salary, like most of the people living in the urban area like Lagos, Abuja, you will see that every other inflation affects you.
The concern really that a lot of Nigerians, Mr. Kofi, the concern really here is that despite the reduction in the core headline inflation, people can't buy food. Now, how do you think...
The core line inflation,
yeah.
You know, the general inflation, the core inflation has gone up. And what causes the core inflation to go up is the exchange rate. And everybody knows where the dollar is going now.
Okay, let's talk about the exchange rate then.
And if you take that one, and most of what you are eating are imported, you are going to pay twice the price.
Let's talk about the exchange rate now, Mr. Kofi. The challenge, or like say the clarion call before the central bank now, is how to boost the local currency, how to strengthen the local currency. And of course, you recall sometime last week, where the vice president came out and said the CBN needs to initiate better management of the local currency, of the forex market, to ensure stability of the local currency. How do you respond to that?
Well, you see, if you take the vice president, he made it very clear. There should be no dual exchange rate. And once you kill the dual exchange rate, the inflow of the foreign exchange will reduce the scarcity of it. Why should I bring my dollar officially and sell at 413, 412? Well, if I take it to parallel market, I will get 580, 570. Nobody does that. So the moment you have this dual exchange rate, you deny the foreign investors from bringing their dollar in the right channel. And once you then get it, so you are only faced with the only legitimate dollar you got that you can sell, and you cannot meet up the market. And therefore, most of the majority of the people will go outside to look dollar elsewhere, and they have to pay the price. Take, for instance, Cairo. Cairo have streamlined their exchange rate. Today, go and see the foreign inflow into Egypt. It's much more, and the exchange rate is more stable. We have seen it. This is not the first time. In 2016 and 17, when the CBN suspended supplying dollar to be changed, we know what the dollar went there.
Let me quickly come in.
200 to 500. So if today they repeat the same thing, we expect the same result.
So let me quickly come in, Mr. Kofi. I mean, the CBN has initiated a lot of policies or interventions. One is the $1 to 5 Naira incentives You are aware of that, and of course a lot of interventions going on there. But it's at this point it will seem like the CBN it's helpless. Is that what it is?
No, the incentive is not incentive. For me, it's not incentive. It's rather a deception. Why should I bring my dollar at 412? You give me 5 naira. If I add 5 naira to my dollar, it is 417. If I take it outside, Mala will give me 480. So is that incentives? I'm asking you. Remember, these people, they go and work on their own to earn their dollar. It's not that they were allotted. It's not that it was based on allocation or based on regional or sectional or otherwise.
But do you think the CBN is...
work for him.
Yes, but do you think the CBN is helpless at this time? I mean, you remember the fact...
The question of helpless is the question of you have to do it right to get it right. As long as there is 2 exchange rate. For instance, today, if you got an allotment of $1 million from the CBN, just sitting down, you take it to the upper market, you will get 160 million naira. Because you get it for 12, you sell it for 580.
Right.
If you can do that, and you have the opportunity to do that, will you do any other work?
So at this point, what do you suggest? Because you seem to say the CBN is not getting it right. How do you think they can get it right?
The CBN should streamline the exchange rate. When they streamline the exchange rate, it will bring more inflow. Because most of people who are willing to invest or buy product in Nigeria, they will bring their dollar in the right channel. Because the price is right. And the more you get inflow, all price will crash down and all this rising of the imported item will be lower. Because today, you are a manufacturer, you need $10 million. You got CBN and allotted you $1 million. Where do you get the $9 million? You have to look somewhere else. And the only somewhere else is to buy it at 580 to get. So by the time you buy it 580, compared to the one that you bought 412 or 413 from CBN, when you dilute it, you will see that your average cost is still 580. And therefore, everything you are manufacturing here or you are importing, you will rate it at 580, not 412. And that is why if you are to go and buy any imported item, you will see the price has gone up. Because people are no longer looking at the official rate, at the rate that they will price their goods. So they price their good at the parallel market. And the parallel market is shining because there is no way to streamline this exchange rate. Streamline the two. You will see what will happen. The inflow will come and the price will reduce from 580, it can come to less than 500. And that is a win-win situation for everybody.
There are those who are also conversing for devaluation of the local currency. Do you suggest that the Naira should be devalued? Or
you don't need to devalue the Naira. You don't need to devalue the Naira. All you need to do is streamline the exchange rate.
Right.
Once you streamline the exchange rate, technically you have devalued the Naira.
Interesting.
Because it will no longer be at 412, 413. It will find its level. But the beauty of it, you have taken the Naira to the level that it can sustain itself. And therefore,
interesting.
You will not see any other person looking for other means of bringing his foreign exchange into Nigeria. Because you have streamlined the exchange rate, everybody will follow the channel. It's not like when you want to smuggle into the country, when the airport is open, the seaport is open, why don't you follow the right channel and move in? It's better for everybody and it's a win-win situation.
Interesting. I think we need to leave it there. Thank you so much, Mr. Garba Kofi, is the MD CEO, APT Securities and Fund Limited. Thank you for being with us on Business Breakfast this morning.
Thank you very much.